Hi everybody, this is Tina with Rehatch Designs. Today I thought we would do a little fun with this clear glue. You can use white glue, and this is just stuff I picked up from the dollar store, but honestly the clear glue works a lot better. I'm doing the voiceover just because my audio was messed up, but anyway, the clear glue, for the most part, it just makes a nice finish, and it doesn't have that cloudy look that the white glue is. White glue, you can use it, but it gives it kind of a white haze. The other thing is, I guess you could use Mod Podge, but Mod Podge to me, kind of even the matte gives it a glossy finish, and I don't necessarily like that. So and it's more expensive. So that clear glue you can get it at the dollar store. You can get it on Amazon, it's Walmart, anywhere. Anyway, I'm pouring some of this glue into a little cup, and I'm going to show you how I make my little finish here. There's something in the cup there, but I'm not making a lot. I'm not making a huge batch. Anyway, I add the glue, and then after that I add just plain old water. So just to kind of, I would say about 50-50, maybe even more water. Just, it depends on the consistency that you want. Anyway, I'm mixing that up to try and get it to where I want it. Because you're not trying to let it be glue. You're trying to make it kind of a sealer. A stainer and a sealer is what you're trying to do. You're not really trying to use it as glue. Anyway, so I usually do at least right around 50-50, maybe even a little extra water. You just kind of have to work with it and get it to the way you want it. And I'm just, nothing great. I'm just taking a brush to mix it. And now what I'm going to do is I'm using some walnut stain, or vintage photo, I'm sorry. I don't remember which one I used. One of those two. I think it was vintage photo. I have to go back and look. Anyway, you can use either one. Any stain actually you have. It doesn't matter. And mix it in there with it. I think I used like almost a whole dropper full, which is probably more than I needed. So I'm going to go ahead and add more glue and basically just fill up this little cup. Might as well just make enough to do the whole thing. So anyway, here I am, just mixing in more water, more glue, same thing, just to get it to where it's the color and consistency that I want. I'm adding more glue. You just basically, I don't know, I would just say the ratio is almost 50% water to glue. It's about that. You can measure it if you want to, but I never have. So anyway, now that I've done that, I'm going to go ahead and show you what it looks like. So this is just kind of just a wash that I'm putting over it. And you can see that it has this really cool look to it. I could really see that, like if you've already done a tag and let's say you did some decoupaging, you could put that over it, and that would be really fun. Okay, so now I'm going to show you this same stain, and I'm going to use it for, I have some music paper here, and I'm just going to basically put, and I'm just doing one coat too, by the way. If you want it darker, you can add more stain, another coat, or you could just make your whole mix darker to begin with. I personally like to make it lighter, and then it gives me the option of, doing a second coat if I want. And the really fun thing about this, guys, is that it actually seals your project. like if you're making a tag or a paper, but it doesn't give it that really kind of thick, leathery feeling. It's a very light coat, a very light sealer when it dries. Because it's not super thick and it goes on pretty easily. And it does seal your project. And I think it can make I think it makes it look really vintage, and I don't know. Depends on, what you mix it with and what you do with it. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and just paint over this music sheet just to show you what it looks like. And then we're going to move on to the next color. And this time what we're going to try and do is try and come up with a cheaper way than Vintage Photo. Because Vintage Photo or any of those Distress inks or whatever, they're like, $7 for 0.05 or something. And honestly, guys, as much as I like the look, I don't have anything wrong with the way this looks. It's just the whole point in this project was to try and come up with a way that is inexpensive. Okay, now granted, that little container that we made will last you quite a long time. It'll last probably, at least, depending upon how much you're going to use, probably 4 or 5 projects. Okay, so you don't have to, spend a fortune doing this, but there are cheaper ways to do it. And I have kind of experimented myself, so I'm just kind of share that with you. This is just instant coffee that I got from the dollar store. Okay, so what is it now, $1.25 store? But anyway, that's the same instant coffee that I use when I coffee down my papers. So I am just taking a little bit of instant coffee. I'm not mixing with hot water. This is just water from a water bottle. And I'm going to mix that up, let it dissolve, get to the color that I want it. It's obviously it's very concentrated. So we are going to mix that and get it to where we want it. And now we're going to mix it with the glue. But the thing you have to remember is that we already have water in there. So we're not going to add as much water as we did before when we basically just had glue. And so now we're going to add our glue. And it's just white glue. No secret sauce. And I think you can buy it. You can buy that glue in large quantities if you want. But honestly, this stuff lasts for a while. It'll last as long as glue lasts. Doesn't really go bad. Okay, so now I'm using the coffee, and I like it. It's a different color, but I really do like how it looks. So I'm going to go ahead and try it again on the music paper so you can see that. And there's just so many things that you could use this on. I'm going to make it a little bit darker. I decided maybe just a tiny bit darker. So I'm adding just a tiny bit more. I don't want to add too much. I don't want to just dump it in there. And that's what's so great about this is you can control the color very easily. And all I did is just mix it in there, let it dissolve. And now I'm going to try this on my music paper, so it's going to be a little darker than it was on the tag. And there's just so many things that you can use this on. You could use this, like if you don't want to coffee dye your papers, if you have an inkjet printer and you want to go ahead and just put this over your papers. I don't think it'll smudge that much because I've done it on mine and it really doesn't. So you could try that, and because it doesn't really dry shiny. It dries, I don't know. It's just kind of it's a matte finish. It's a finish, but it's not glossy. And that's another thing. I think the white glues and the Mod Podge dry a little bit glossier, and this clear glue doesn't do that. So that's kind of why, and then of course it it has that white glue just has a cloud over it. You can experiment with both and see. But, I mean, if maybe the clear glue cost a lot or something, then I would say, go ahead and use the white glue. It doesn't make that much difference, but honestly, it's very inexpensive. So, if you have a choice, use the clear glue. So anyway, that is how it looks with the coffee. You can't really tell till it dries, but anyway, I think it looks pretty cool. All right, so now we're going to try something else. Clean this up a little bit. We're making a mess. Got glue everywhere. So the next thing I'm going to do, this came about just because I had it around, and this is just some temporary hair color that I had. I tried to use it in my hair to cover my gray, and it didn't work very well. But and this is not permanent hair color. It's the kind that you use one time. It has no ammonia, no peroxide. So, it doesn't have any chemicals like that in it. So that's why I thought it might work. And it kind of does. So anyway, this is already mixed with water. So it's not like it's a, thick stuff. It's just kind of, as you can see, I'm taking just a little bit out and putting it in this little container that I have. And these are just little containers that I got at the dollar store because I don't want to make huge batches of all these different kinds. Not that I won't use them, because I do use this stuff all the time. So anyway, the color on this stuff is kind of an ashy, kind of grayish brown color. And, I'm just showing you that you get a whole bottle of this hair coloring. What is it? 9 fluid ounces. It's like $7. And your vintage photo or walnut stain or whatever, that's about $7 for 0.05. So, if you do the math. Now, granted, it didn't take that much of it, but you can certainly see how if you're doing a lot of this, you might consider something different. Anyway, that's all I got to say. Now, the color on this, honestly, guys, it's just not a color it's not like vintage photo. It doesn't have that golden hue to it. It's kind of an ashy brown. But, you could certainly get a different color, This is just what I had on hand, and I wanted to try it, and it certainly worked. So, anyway, see, it's kind of a ash brown color, which actually is kind of a grayish color to it. And it's not a bad color if you want that color, okay? I was wanting something a little bit more brown, so I wasn't jumping up and down about the color, but it works. And I thought about adding more of the dye, but I thought, no, I don't know that it would work, because I'm really just trying to get more of an ash brown color. Now I'm putting a second coat on there just to see how it looks, but it's definitely a different look than the vintage photo and the coffee for sure. But then that's kind of what we're trying to achieve. We were trying to try different things. So anyway, I'm going to try it on the music paper, see how that looks. Just to kind of, see. And as I said, honestly, I think if I had a different color brown, which they have a ton of different colors. I don't even know why I got that color. It's not even the right color for my hair. My hair is more of a golden kind of color than it is a ashy color. So anyway, that's the color there, which is not a bad color. There's a lot of things that you could use it for, It just depends on what you're looking for, okay? I don't know. This just says number 21, and it's fancy full temporary hair color. Rinses in, shampoos out. um, for medium to dark brown hair, but it didn't work at all as far as covering my gray. So, but it works good for this, so that's okay. As I said, one big old giant bottle is the same cost, of one thing of like vintage photos. So anyway, now I kind of decided I'm going to go ahead and I added a little coffee to it. So just to give it more of a golden brown, and I'm going to go back over my tag. And I added just a tiny bit of the instant coffee. And that was just to give it just a more of a golden brown color. I could have just taken some vintage photo or something like that. But I thought, no, let me just try the coffee because it's cheaper. That vintage photo sometimes is hard to get too, the refill. And I go through it so quick. I started using walnut stain a lot more because it's kind of the same golden brown, just a little bit darker, and it just seems to show up more. You don't have to use as much, so that's a tip. Okay, so now I'm going to try something completely crazy different. This is my rust water, and I will put in the description box when I did a video on rusting metal, and this is just the water that's left over, and I saved that, not all of it, but some of it, because I actually color different fabrics with it, papers, all kinds of stuff. But I want to show you, and I've got a different jar here because I'm going to make a little bit more of this than that little container because I intend to use it. So it makes a very unique color that I haven't found a way to duplicate. So anyway, so that is just my rust water, and I'm not going to add any water to this little concoction because it already has quite a bit of water in it. And the rust water really consists of peroxide, vinegar, and salt. So it doesn't really go bad. I mean, so, if you get things in it that are like other things that are, that can go bad, it could go bad, but the mixture itself won't. Anyway, so I'm putting all I'm doing is adding the glue straight to it. I'm not adding any water. I'm just going to get it to the consistency that I want. And I really would say that it's probably not a consistency of glue. It's definitely thinner than that. It's a little bit more watery. If you put it on thicker than that, then you're going to get more of a glossy, thicker finish when you're done. So I guess it just depends on what you're looking for. Anyway, I'm going to grab another music sheet because I don't have one. And let's see what it looks like on there. See, very, very different, but it's really cool. So, moral of the story is when you rust things, save your rust water. I really haven't found anything that is quite that color. The other thing too on rust water, if you want to make it really look grungy, if you're looking for a super grungy look, is to take like some cinnamon and put it with that, and it kind of gives it a very textured look to it. And because this has a little bit of glue in it, it'll glue it down. Now you may want to leave more glue and have it thicker, but for the purposes of what we're doing for just a finish and a sealer, I didn't do it for that. The other thing you could do, you could add vanilla because it'll add to the color and add to the smell and all that kind of stuff. But I'm just kind of concentrating not so much on the look I mean, not so much on the smell and the texture, but the look of it today. So, anyway, so that is the Rust. And you can see it has a lot more orangey look to it, but it dries a little bit more brown, but it's definitely a unique look. I don't know. It's hard to achieve that look any other way. I'll tell you that. So anyway, that is the Rust. And as you can see, it dries a little bit more brown, but it's definitely different. So, okay, so now what we're going to do, clean up this mess a little bit. It's getting awful sticky. This is just a coffee dyed envelope that I have here, and it's very grungy, but I'm going to take this Rust concoction with the glue, and I'm going to kind of basically paint that and seal it, and it'll give it an even grungier look, plus it'll seal it. It'll look really cool. I just want you to see what it looks like when you're done, because I like to use this a lot when I'm making grungy things, especially if I've coffee dyed it already, because a coffee dye has kind of a grayish brown look, and this has kind of a orangey brown look, and the two of them mixed together give it a little bit of contrast when it's dry, and it's really, really cool. I mean, I just like how it ends up looking. So if you have like grungy coffee dyed papers, and then you put this mixture on it, it's just a very, I don't know. It has a neat contrast. That's all I can tell you. Because they're just different kind of browns. One's kind of a grayish dark brown, and the other one ends up looking different. Anyway, I was just going to show you what it looks like. Here's the vintage photo one, dry. And my lighting isn't really good here because I don't have all my lights on. I didn't realize that till the video was over with, but I think it's good enough. You get the idea. And you'll see them at the end. So anyway, we have that little concoction there. And I'm just telling you that even though we use the vintage photo and it's expensive, your cost is actually not that much. It's actually pretty cheap, because that little container will last quite a long time. And the look it's a neat look. Anyway. So, and if you also look at it too, guys, it's not shiny or anything like that. It does give it a little bit extra strength to the paper. So, you know, if you were making like envelopes out of vintage, like this is vintage music paper, and that's the back of it, it really would help strengthen it a little bit. And here's the coffee. It looks close to the vintage photo, but I think it looks really cool. And if you wanted it darker, you could definitely make it darker. And I do think different coffees will have a different look. So you could experiment with that too, you know. Different kinds of coffee some will have different tones to it. So you can try that. And I mean, even too, if you're like using coffee from like when you make coffee with the coffee maker, you could use that. The only thing is it's not as concentrated. So I don't know. I don't know how it would work out. Okay, so this is mainly this is the hair coloring, because I didn't put very much coffee in it at all. I put just a tiny, tiny bit, just to give it a little bit of, make it a little more brown than it was grayish. So anyway, that's what it looks like. So just an idea. I mean, you could use something like that. There aren't any harsh chemicals in it or anything that would hurt your paper or anything like that. So if you wanted to use that, you certainly could. I mean, you could probably even use that hair coloring to dye your papers, period. You know what I mean? But I don't know. I probably would just stick to the coffee and tea. But anyway, I'm just saying if you want to use it to tint your glue, to do this. You certainly could if you want a kind of a different look. And there's lots of times when you don't want it to have a brown look. You want it to have a gray look. Now this is the rust water and just the glue. And of course, like I said, it has a completely different look. It's an orangey brown look that you would expect rust to look like. So, but it's really cool. And I like that. So that's the rust water. And that is it, guys. So now I'm going to show you one more thing. Making a color, like adding a color. There's lots of times that you may want to put a finish on something, like on a tag or a page, or maybe a cover of a journal. And I like to use food coloring a lot. And I use that cake food coloring. I bought from Wilson, a whole pack. And then this is just plain old ink that goes in, like for ink cartridges that I just had around. The other thing you can do is, your old ink cartridges from your ink printer, just soak it in water, and that makes a very concentrated ink. You can use that too. But in here, this is just food coloring that I mixed with water. That plain old cake food coloring that I showed you earlier from Wilson. That stuff right there. That's green. You could certainly use the dye. Now the thing is, the other dye, now all of these, even the food coloring, it's going to stain your hands, trust me. Normally I always try and wear gloves because you're not going to get that stuff off your hands for quite a while. Anyway, I'm just putting a tiny bit in this little dish because I don't want to make a lot of this. Although I probably would use it. So anyway, I'm just going to use what's left over in my little bottle here because I think I'll have enough. And I just want to show you what a cool finish it makes for colors. I mean, there's a lot of color things that you may want to do. Here, I'm ruffling these papers here, probably making noise, you can hear. But anyway, those are easy to make because there's so many things that you can add that will add color, and you're just going to mix it with the glue just like anything else. Again, just the consistency that you want, and you can make small batches, big batches, whatever you think you're going to use. I'm only making enough here to put in a little container because I don't think I'm going to use a lot of this color. But I just wanted to show you what it looked like. So it's, you got to realize we're not trying to be super dark. We're trying to be transparent and just basically, have just a wash of color on there. And of course, I can make it as concentrated as I want. I can make it as clear as I want. That's what's so cool about it. It's up to you what you want to do. I personally, I don't use this stuff really to add a lot of color to something. I really like it more just as a finish, as something to put on top of something. Okay, so now I'm just going to show you, that was the green. Now I'm going to do it in pink, but I'm going to add some mica powder, and adding mica powder will give it a shimmer. So you can certainly do it and add shimmer to it. Just like, the cinnamon's going to add that kind of grungy look to the rust. The mica powder is going to add the little, the glistening type look to the pink here. And the pink, I already had mixed it up with some water. It's just that food coloring with water. And now I'm just taking the glue again. I'm going to go ahead and just use what's left in this bottle because I don't have much left. And this is just some plain old mica powder that I bought on Amazon. I think I don't know, they had a bunch of different colors. It wasn't expensive, so. And the more you put in there, the more color you're going to get. I'm not adding very much at all. I'm adding just a very small amount. Again, because I'm not trying to do anything but have a wash of color and wash of the mica powder over that. So, and I'm going to mix that up a little bit. It's probably a little bit more concentrated than I want because I think the mica powder made it a little bit thicker. So I'm going to add a little bit of water to that. And as I said, I don't want a lot of color. I just want a little bit. That's all I'm trying to accomplish. So try to just put a dusting of a little bit of color on there and a little bit of sealer. So how thick you put it on and how much sparkle you want, that's up to you. But I'm probably not going to want a lot. But you can see as I mix it, you can see the mica powder in there. So anyway. So I'm just going to take that, put it all over it, and you're going to get to see the finished product. And you can see it's just a very light wash. I'm not trying to completely change the look of the music paper. I'm just wanting you to see the pink. So anyway, guys, I hope this was helpful. There's so many things you could use this for. I mean, honestly, I don't know. Just lots and lots and lots of things. So I hope you can think of some things, get some inspiration from this, and I hope it helps you. I just had some fun playing around with this, just trying to figure out what I was going to use it for. I'm probably going to mainly use, like the rust and the coffee and the other stuff. But that's why I didn't make a lot of the green and the pink, because I don't usually use this stuff color-wise. But I could definitely see some uses for that. I want you to see what it looks like on the card. You can kind of see it a little better on the little tag. That's why I've been doing it with the tag, so you can see what that looks like. And honestly, you could probably put it on darker, but I like it this color. I like it really light. So that is it. I hope you can see the sparkle in it, but I don't know. I don't think it shows up very good on camera, but it's just a wash of pink, and I think that's really, really fun with a tiny, tiny bit of the sparkle in it. So, and of course you could always put more, up to you. Anyway, that's how the pink looks, so you might be able to see a little better with the tag. Anyway, that is pretty much it, guys. You can see the green. Pretty cool. Definitely could use that. Look at that rust. Isn't that interesting? I think. Anyway, lots of possibilities with that. The hair coloring. Coffee. And the vintage photo. So, I'll see you guys next time. Don't really know what I'll have. So, best thing to do is subscribe and hit the bell. So you'll know when I pop up with something new. So, you guys take care. And I hope to see you again soon. And just remember, all we used is just basically some different things to stain and plain old Elmer's clear glue, guys. Super cheap, get it anywhere, and you can do a lot of fun things with it. So, yep, that's it. Take care.